A man can be himself, only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone, that he is really free. They tell us that suicide is the greatest piece of cowardice. That suicide is wrong, when it is quite obvious, that there is nothing in this world, to which every man has a more unassailable title than to his own life and person. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Every miserable fool, who has nothing at all, of which he can be proud, adopts as a last resource pride, in the nation to which he belongs. He is ready and happy, to defend all its faults and follies tooth and nail, thus reimbursing himself, for his own inferiority. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. We will gradually become indifferent to what goes on in the minds of other people, when we acquire a knowledge of the superficial nature of their thoughts, the narrowness of their views and of the number of their errors. Whoever attaches a lot of value to the opinions of others pays them too much honor. It is a wise thing to be polite, consequently, it is a stupid thing to be rude. To make enemies by unnecessary and willful incivility is just as insane a proceeding as to set your house on fire. For politeness is like a counter and avowedly false coin, with which it is foolish to be stingy. What disturbs and depresses young people is the hunt for happiness on the firm assumption that it must be met with in life. From this arises constantly deluded hope and so also dissatisfaction. Deceptive images of a vague happiness hover before us in our dreams, and we search in vain for their original. Much would have been gained if, through timely advice and instruction, young people could have had eradicated from their minds the erroneous notion that the world has a great deal to offer them. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. Without books, the development of civilization would have been impossible. They are the engines of change, windows on the world, lighthouses as the poet said erected in the sea of time. They are companions, teachers, magicians, bankers of the treasures of the mind. Books are humanity in print. Life swings like a pendulum, backward and forward, between pain and boredom. Philosophy is a science, and as such has no articles of faith. Accordingly, in it nothing can be assumed as existing except what is, either positively given empirically, or demonstrated through indubitable conclusions. I have not yet spoken my last word about women. I believe that if a woman succeeds in withdrawing from the mass, or rather raising herself from above the mass, she grows ceaselessly, and more than a man. The inexpressible depth of music, so easy to understand and yet so inexplicable, is due to the fact that it reproduces all the emotions of our innermost being, but entirely without reality and remote from its pain. Music expresses only the quintessence of life and its events, never these themselves. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. Reading is merely a surrogate for thinking for yourself. It means letting someone else direct your thoughts. Many books, moreover, serve merely to show how many ways there are of being wrong, and how far astray you yourself would go, if you followed their guidance. You should read only when your own thoughts dry up, which will of course happen frequently, enough even to the best heads, but to banish your own thoughts, so as to take up a book is a sin against the Holy Ghost. It is like deserting untrammeled nature, to look at a herbarium or engravings of landscapes. Pleasure is never as pleasant as we expected it to be, and pain is always more painful. The pain in the world always outweighs the pleasure. If you don't believe it, compare the respective feelings of two animals, one of which is eating the other. If I maintain my silence about my secret, it is my prisoner. If I let it slip from my tongue, I am its prisoner. Almost all of our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people. There is no more mistaken path to happiness than worldliness. Wealth is like seawater, the more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame.